this episode, we're taking a step back to the 70s. We should almost consider changing the name of this show again to That 70s Horror Show.
I think that's a great idea.
I
think some of the best horror came from the 70s.
Some of the worst horror came from the 70s as well. But that doesn't mean anything in conjunction with this episode necessarily. But we are talking about a movie from smack dab right in the middle of the 70s. And I think this might be a first for us. But we are talking about a made-for-television horror movie as well. And that is 1975's Trilogy of Terror.
Yeah, I think you're right. I can't think of another made-for-TV movie that we hit yet.
I almost was going to say that this might have been a first in two different areas for us. One being the made-for-TV aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other being that it's an anthology piece, but we did Trick or Treat last year, so that...
And we did Creepshow 1 and Creepshow 2.
Oh, that's right. We totally did. I completely brain farted on those. Oh, and that reminds me, too. We were talking before we started recording about movies we recently watched. I watched the making of Creepshow called Just Desserts a couple weeks ago after we recorded the last time. Great documentary.
Oh, cool.
You should totally check it out if you can find it.
Cool.
I think it's actually done by Synapse, I think is who put it out.
Really?
I think so.
Ooh, I'll have to check that out.
Maybe Scream Factory. No, it wasn't Scream Factory. But anyway, back to...
Yeah, both of those companies are pretty cool. And they both seem to be well represented at Flashback.
Yeah.
Well, at least Synapse is for sure.
Yeah, I think Scream Factory had a booth there last year. And that's the thing anymore, too, is... not only the video companies, but all these like Fright Rags and Terror Threads and Creepy Company and all these Cavity Colors and all these other niche market like clothing and accessory companies that are popping up all over the place. Those are popping up all over at all the conventions and stuff too, which is pretty cool.
That is cool. Yeah, I got it. Want to grab another T-shirt from Fright Rags for this August when we head out on our road trip.
Yeah, they came out with a cool line of My Bloody Valentine stuff not too long ago, which is pretty.
Did they?
Yeah,
oh, I got to check. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I was not aware of that. I saw all the new Halloween stuff they had a few months back.
Terror Threads just came out with a bunch of Halloween stuff too. Trilogy of Terror, which was also known as Tales of Terror or Terror of the Doll, which I've never actually heard it referred to as either of those names before.
Yeah, neither have I. So I've always known it as Trilogy of Terror.
But the first time I watched this, I didn't actually know that it was a made-for-TV movie.
Oh, no?
And then I started doing some digging on it, and then I was like, oh, that was a made-for-TV movie? Interesting.
Yeah, there were a few of them back in the 70s. There's a few kind of quote unquote classic horror films now that were made for TV. There's this one. There was Dark Night of the Scarecrow, which has a pretty big cult following, and then there was your favorite. What's it called again? Shoot. Can't think of the name, but we saw the remake at the theater about the little people that live in the vent.
Oh, yeah. I forgot Katie Holmes.
Oh, yeah, but that was a remake of a 70s made-for-TV movie.
Salem's Lot.
Salem's Lot was another one. Yeah, you're right. That was a huge one too, and that's like the theatrical. I mean, that's the version that everybody thinks of when they think of the movie of Salem's Lot, is that made-for-TV version.
Yeah, and it didn't just... I mean, they still kind of do it a little bit, even though, I mean, it's been, 20 years ago now, but you had It and The Stand. They even did a made-for-TV a version of The Shining at one point, I remember. I don't think I ever saw that. But it is another one of those too.
Yeah, I
Like
heard it
when you're
wasn't very
talking
good.
about like cult
Mm-hmm.
movies and stuff. I mean, they're remaking it this year, but that's a good movie.
Yeah, that's a definite. There's a lot of people who love that film, and it really was very effective too because Pennywise the Clown was in a lot of people's nightmares. People were terrified of that movie. So I'm wondering what the response was in 1975 with Trilogy of Terror. If people were, you know, falling out of their seats screaming and freaking out after watching this.
Well, I was thinking that after I read that, and then I actually went back and rewatched it. That time, I knew that it was a made-for-TV movie, and I was thinking that the whole time. I'm like, this had to have been causing some controversy back in '75. I mean, some of that stuff now, if you put it on TV, especially the first story with the teacher, and, not that they showed anything or they didn't really say anything, but just the subject matter, you were like, man, that had to have been causing, like, had been protests or angry mobs of people or something.
Yeah, it was pretty. That first story. Holy crap! You know what I just found out? I didn't realize this, but I don't mean to like detour us, and then we'll go back. But Karen Black, who is the star of all three of the stories in this movie, she was in Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses.
She is in a lot of stuff.
Huh. Yeah, now I because I just saw that not too long ago for the first time, and now I remember her character.
She's also in the ground right now, but
is she? Did she die?
Yeah, she passed away in 2013.
Really? What did she pass away from? She couldn't have been that old, was she?
Well, she was 35 when this was made, so.
Okay. Oh, she was 74 when she passed away.
I mean, that's not horribly old in this day and age, but.
Cancer.
So,
wow.
The Trilogy of Terror is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. So it's 3 short stories that were written by the same guy and then directed by the same guy. They weren't written and directed by the same guy, but it's not like a lot of times where you see these, like what we were talking about with some of the ones that we've already talked about, Creep Show and stuff where they're based off of, written by different people, or, like Trick or Treat. And, that's the big thing nowadays is you have these anthology movies that you have these short stories that are essentially little movies that are completely written and directed by different people. But then, like you had said too, which was kind of cool, is the main character that's in all 3 of the stories, Karen Black, is the actress who plays that same character. It's not the same character, but it's the main character in each story, which is, again, kind of unique to these kind of anthology type movies. But the first one was called Julie, which essentially is a college student and professor romance story. And then the second one is, and I'm probably butchering the name here, but Millicent and Therese, which is a story about 2 sisters. And then the last one was Amelia, which is a story about a lady and her doll, if you will.
Well, Amelia is pretty much, I think, like when I think of Trilogy of Terror, it's pretty much you could scrap the first 2 stories and just stick with Amelia, because that's like the one I think we all, like anybody who knows about this movie, that's the one that they go to, is the Zuni fetish doll story.
Yeah, that's the one. The doll is on the artwork. Yeah, you don't really see too much of the other 2 stories in any advertisements or anything for the movie like you do with the last one.
Yeah, the first one, Julie, that was kind of like you said, it was a little controversial because it's basically about a college student who kind of seduces his teacher, and then takes some lewd pictures of her after drugging her on a date, and then like kind of uses it as blackmail so that he can continue to go out with her. And then it turns out that she is the one in control, and she's the one who's like actually seduced him, and then she ends up killing him. It's kind of a strange story. What do you think of Julie?
Being married to a teacher and then watching that with your teacher wife and seeing her reaction to it.
Oh, you watched it with your wife?
Yeah. The one thing that I kept thinking of when I was watching that was originally I didn't know that it was supposed to be in college because they don't really say that in the story until you actually do some digging, and then you like realize, oh, college age. Because that was one of the things I was thinking of too. Was like, damn, that dude looks like he's 35. Why is he in high school?
Yeah.
But one of the things I wanted to ask you is, we don't have to get any names for this at all, but when you were in high school or even middle school at all,
yeah,
was there any teachers you had the hots for?
Yes, there was actually. It was, but it goes back to all the way back to first grade.
Oh, that doesn't count.
And that was it. Yeah, it was just a first grade teacher.
Oh, see, I had a teacher that I was in her class when I was a freshman, and then I made sure to be in every class that I could be of hers when I was both semesters when I was a freshman, and then again both semesters when I was a sophomore until we moved away. And she was the computer arts teacher at the high school.
Really?
And she was, at that time, she would have been like in her probably maybe late 20s. But I remember one time we went to a football game one time, a bunch of us, and she was there and her husband was there, and her husband was like this like chubby bald guy. And all of us were like, oh man, see, we got a chance. We could totally beat out that guy. That guy's just a loser. And now I bet every one of us that was at that game is probably chubby bald guy now.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that was what grade? What grade was she?
Well, she was a high school teacher, so.
High school teacher, okay.
Yep. When I was watching that movie, that's one thing I was thinking of. Well, I mean, you have all the recent stories in the news from, well, not recent, I mean, from, the past several years of all these different teachers getting busted for that kind of stuff. And like,
right.
Man, I wonder if that actually happened in the 70s at all.
Yeah, probably not, unless you were in the Trilogy of Terror anthology.
This is funny. The other thing that it reminded me of, and I don't know if you remember this or not, I actually tell my kids and, well, I tell a few people this story a lot. Well, I tell a lot of stories about when we were in 6th grade.
6th grade was a great year.
And our 6th grade teacher is the subject of a lot of the stories that I do tell. Because I'm not sure if you feel the same way as I do, but our 6th grade teacher was way up there, is at the top of the list of my favorite teachers of all time.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, he's the teacher that sticks out the most of all of my teachers from my whole school career. I always think of Mr. B. And my 7th grade teacher beat him out just by a little bit, and then really okay.
But one of the things that we had in 6th grade, there was a couple of things. One, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but do you remember when we had Dare? And
yeah.
Do you remember when they brought in the like big baggy things with the sponges in them, and then they lit the cigarettes in the class?
Yes.
And yes, they put them in the baggies and like squeezed the baggies so the baggies smoked the cigarettes.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, you can never do that.
Nobody believes me when I tell that story. But then the other thing that I remember is we must have been doing like a health class or something, and our 6th grade teacher goes, is talking about sex for some reason, and somebody said something, and he goes, "Well, sex is about the best exercise you could have."
Did he say that?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
And I just can't. When I was watching this, it brought that memory up, and I was like, "Oh man, if that were to happen nowadays, and my kids were to come home, or not my kids because I wouldn't care, but kids came home nowadays and be like, oh, so and so, our 6th grade health teacher just said that sex is good exercise."
That's funny.
Poor bastard
I love
probably
that.
be in jail.
6th grade was great. I love that teacher. The only problem was he tried to convince my folks that I should take off my Kiss back patch on my jean jacket.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was telling them that Kiss stood for Knights in Satan's Service. So, but
he'd be fun to go out drinking with now, just to be like, "Hey, so how's it going?"
Do you remember when we ran into him in the neighborhood? Like, he was like, him and his wife were like, he had just had a baby, and they were like walking down the road with a stroller. Was that you? Were you there, or was it our other mutual friend?
It could have been. I don't remember.
Okay, I remember seeing that. That was like the year after or something. I was like, holy crap, it's Mr. B.
I remember when he busted his face up playing basketball. And,
oh, yeah, that's right.
And
How
I ran
old do you
into
think
him.
he was?
Oh, probably like mid-30s, maybe.
Mid-30s when he was teaching us?
If that.
Yeah, he's probably pretty young. That's weird. Wow.
'Cause I remember running into him after he got hurt because he took an elbow to his face, and he essentially smashed his eye socket.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
And me and my mom ran into him somewhere, like at Jewel or Kmart or something. Like a couple of weeks after that had happened. He was still out of school, maybe he came into school one time like this too, but I remember he was all bandaged up, but his eye was like all bloodshot still, and his face was all purple and stuff. And you're like, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. I think he came to school like that because I remember him being in that condition.
Oh man, he was jacked up.
That is so funny.
But yeah, that first story was a little not. I don't want to say weird, but it's one of those things where I don't think that would necessarily be considered a horror story at all.
That's the thing about this trilogy of terror, quote unquote terror, is like, what on earth was going on with the first story? That was not a terror horror story at all. It was like maybe maybe in 1975 on TV it was, but I was kind of disappointed because I hadn't seen this movie in a long time. It had been like probably close to 20 years since I've seen it. I didn't remember the first two stories at all. I mean, the Zuni fetish doll story is the one that I remember the most because that's like the reason I rented it. And but yeah, I was like, yeah, there's two other stories, but I don't recall what they were. And so when I saw them, I was just kind of like, oh, okay. So Julie was like sort of interesting, but ultimately I was just like, yeah, whatever.
I kind of had the same feeling towards the first one. The first time I watched it, and then when I watched it with my wife today, she actually thought it was pretty good.
The first one?
Yeah, which I thought was like, really? She was like, yeah, it's good to see a strong woman in a role. I'm like, okay, cool. But then you moved on to the second story, which again didn't really have much of a horror aspect to it.
No, not really.
And it was actually that one. I don't even know what I thought of the first time when I saw it, but it was kind of weird. So the story is basically you have this one sister who is kind of like nowadays you would say like a nerd, but back in the 70s, I'm sure she was probably considered more of a prude or something along those lines. She was always journaling, and no makeup, and her hair was pulled back and thick glasses on. And she called a psychiatrist to come and talk to her. And when the psychiatrist came to the house, her sister answered the door, who was this beautiful blonde woman, scantily clad, if you will. I mean, she had a tank top on and short shorts on. And then you come to realize pretty quick, like, oh, hey, that's the same girl, isn't it? But they don't really say nothing. But then, I mean, the storyline of the second story was pretty short and pretty quick. But basically it was these two sisters are kind of, they weren't even really fighting on screen, but basically it was, the one girl called the psychiatrist, then the other girl told the psychiatrist to go away, they didn't need her, and then she called the psychiatrist back, and then she was like, oh, I'm going to get rid of Teresa, or whatever her name was, and so she builds a voodoo doll, essentially ends up committing suicide, and then the doctor is the one who found him, and then, the doctor reveals that, oh, I've known her since she was a baby, and this is the most... What did he say? This is the most
severe case of...
Yep.
Back then it was called multiple personality disorder. Now it's dissociative disorder. But, that one I saw coming right around... I mean, I knew that... I mean, well, here's a question I have. Were they thinking that like the audience didn't realize that was the same person?
Back in 75 though, it could have been that way. I mean, and you might have thought it was the same actor playing them, but I don't know. I mean,
and and another movie, by the way, another made-for-TV movie that came out in either the early 80s or late 70s with a similar storyline was Sybil, which was like the first, that kind of made the whole multiple personality disorder diagnosis a mainstream topic. And that was with not Susan Sarandon. What's her name? Oh, crap. What's her? Forrest Gump's mom.
Sally Field?
Sally Field, that's right.
Well, I will say that to tie this back to an episode that we did not too long ago, that second story with the split personalities, even though it wasn't really that great and wasn't really that well executed, 10 times better than the movie Split.
You hated Split, didn't you?
That's an understatement.
Yeah, Sybil came out in 1976.
Oh, so the year after this one. Okay, cool.
Television miniseries with Sally Field.
Huh.
We'll have to. Maybe we should visit that sometime.
Well,
it's not really horror.
Well, this wasn't really horror either.
See, that's the thing. Yeah, it's not horror until we get to the third story here, which is called Amelia, which is a very strange name for this story. I had no idea it was called Amelia. I would have called it Zuni Fetish Doll or something like.
Would think in the 75, you probably couldn't call it Zuni Fetish Doll on TV. I don't even know if they called it the Zuni Fetish Doll in the show at all.
Yeah, in the movie they do, I think. I think she, when she's talking to her mom, she's saying, yeah, I got a Zuni Fetish Doll.
Did she say that? Okay.
I think so.
I will say that when I was watching this, and I had thought of this before, but there is a full moon movie that is called Ooga Booga, and I think I've told you about this before.
Yes.
That has a doll that looks very similar to this guy.
Yeah, I think that Ooga Booga is an actual parody or a copy of this.
Well, I mean, that movie's completely vulgar, but it turns out that Karen Black, who was in this movie, had a role in Ooga Booga.
Did she really?
Yeah, which I thought was kind of funny.
She really made the round. One thing, too, I was reading about Karen Black. She was pretty, I guess this Trilogy of Terror thing really typecast her. And she didn't really want to do the whole B horror thing, but then... after she did this, she really kind of got a cult following. And if you like follow her, what came afterwards, like what she did, she kind of got stuck doing this kind of stuff. She did a really good job. I thought she was great in all three of these stories, but especially Amelia. I thought she did a great job. And actually, Amelia, to me, see, I'm a big fan of like the puppet horror or the doll horror. I always think that they really do a good job with that. Like, you know, I always thought that that's a really good element of in different horror movies is like, you know, like the Child's Play is kind of like where they finally kind of really mainstreamed it and got it right, where it became like the thing. But there's a lot of stuff out there, like, you know, Puppet Master. There's like that short that we talked about previously, The Dummy, which is actually pretty much the same storyline almost as Amelia. And you know, it's funny too. So Amelia came out in 1975, and then one of my favorite horror shorts, The Dummy, came out like in the early 80s, maybe 79, 1980, somewhere around there. And then Child's Play came out in like the late 80s. And all three of them, they're all based upon a skyrise, or an apartment in a in like a skyrise, and somebody getting attacked in that apartment by a doll. And they all have similar things, like Chucky getting, you know, burned is very similar to the Zuni fetish doll getting burned, and it's really funny how if you compare all, and then the Dummy and all the different comparisons between that and Amelia. I mean, it's almost like they used a lot of the same things when they filmed that.
So in the movie or the short, The Dummy, is the dummy a gift?
It's like the husband has it's his childhood dummy, and it's just laying around the house, and the wife's getting pissed off that it's there. And then she's like, I want to get rid of this, and that kind of thing. But Chucky is a gift.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, because I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool if they all had that in common too.
So I think actually, to be honest with you, I think Amelia was sort of like the template for Child's Play. I mean, very like loosely, subconsciously, I think, like, you know, the writer probably had that in the back of his head when he was writing it, because it's, you know, it's got the high rise apartment, it's got a lot of, you know, the way they shoot the film with, you know, the doll running around, and it just very similar to Chucky.
Yeah, it was actually, that segment was really well done, I thought. The doll was pretty cool, and there was a couple of scenes in there too where, not where you're like, oh, how are they doing that, but like when she was trying to drown him in the tub, and then he's crawling out of the tub, but he's got the knife in his mouth, you know, because he doesn't want to, you know, he's got to crawl out of the tub, and then, you know, a couple of things like that, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And my wife was watching it with me, and she was like, see, I hate horror things like this where the girl, all she is doing is screaming. I'm like, well, she's going to beat him. Just watch. The other thing I will say about that doll in there is, if somebody wants to send us a replica of that doll, we will make him the official mascot of Horror Heads.
Yeah, I actually looked into that, because as soon as I saw this, it's like, I need that doll. I need that in my collection. And then apparently they did make a replica of it. I forget who the company was, but apparently they're very. I mean, you can go on eBay and they're there, but they're all like averaging a market value of around $300-$400, which I don't want the doll that much, so I'm gonna have to hold off.
Well, that's why I said send us one, and send us two, because we'll need two, because it's, well, the name of the show is Horror Heads.
Yeah, we need two of them. Yeah,
we need two of them, and then me and Mark each put one on our recording station.
That would be really cool. You know, we should do that. We should get like a little area set up with all like props and masks and all that stuff. I think that would be really Svengoolie's area when he does those, when he reads the letters, you know, and he's like sitting at that, there's like little monsters and stuff all around him.
Well, I already have that, so you just need to get it.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm behind. I have all the stuff I could put out. I just don't have the okay to do it yet.
Yeah, see, you just need to do what I do and just move into a closet.
I don't have a big enough closet.
Oh,
I would just be like underneath hanging clothes in my Oreo stash.
too funny.
Yeah, I do. By the way, I have to hide my Oreos. I have an Oreo addiction, and if I don't hide them, my boys will get to them. So I have to hide them in my closet.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with Oreos. So are you just a normal Oreo guy, or are you like a limited edition flavor kind of guy?
I'm a vanilla double stuffed Oreo guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we love Oreos here too, and we'll get every time they come out with a new flavor, we'll have to try it. And there's a lot of times where you're like, eh. But at the same time though, there's a lot of times where you're like, that's really good.
Well, I saw they had a watermelon version, and I was like, how in the heck can you have a watermelon version of an Oreo cookie?
I bet it was good.
It was good?
I said I bet it was good. I haven't tried that one.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
The only Oreos are like chips in my experience.
Oh, that's the problem.
And because I'm a big special flavor of like Pringles, and now that Lay's does this thing now where they come out with the flavors you vote on every year. I always got to try all those. The only Oreos that I ever had that I did not truly like were the Swedish Fish ones from last year.
Swedish Fish?
Yeah, they were horrible.
Oh, that sounds horrible. Would they taste like fish?
Oh god, no, the Swedish Fish candy.
Ugh.
And that's what it tasted like. It was horrible. But
I have to have double stuff, by the way. It's just like for some reason I don't like the regular ones. It's got to be. Well, I mean, I like them, but like the double stuff is so much better.
So if the folks from Oreos are listening, send us some Oreos, and then you can sponsor Horror Heads as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And then we'll make this.
Is there any like horror movie based, like any Oreos in any horror movies you can think of?
No, I can't. But yeah, we'll replace the O's in horror with Oreos.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
There you go. So send us a Ooga Booga doll and some Oreos, and then we'll be set. So what do you think? What are you giving this movie?
Trilogy of Terror?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have to go full on with a huge thumbs up.
Okay, cool.
Just for Amelia alone. I think that last episode is just...
Even though the first two stories I wouldn't consider horror at all.
Yeah.
I enjoyed both of them. And then the last one for sure is completely and utterly horror to the core. So yeah, to me, this is a thumbs up as well. Which is kind of funny because when we were deciding movies to do this episode, and folks, this shouldn't be a shock to anybody, but me and Mark usually pick one movie each when we record, and we record 2 episodes. And Mark typically tends to pick older movies.
I do.
And we've had a streak of movies that we haven't liked in the past couple of episodes because we've been trying to watch. I think we've both been picking movies we haven't seen before. And so at first when he was like, oh, let's do Trilogy of Terror, and I'm like, oh, god damn it, this is going to be another movie I'm going to hate.
But you ended up liking it.
Oh, I loved it. I really did. I really liked it.
Oh, that's cool.
All right, guys. I think that wraps it up for this one. So we'll be back next week with maybe a burn victim or something.
Hey, I think you're right.